Hello, everybody. We are here at another episode of the Viking Book Club. We are joined by our very special guest, Mr. Comic Man Andy. Thank you for joining us, sir. How are we doing?
Who actually knows a lot about you've played the video games, you've watched the show, obviously, and you've read this.
I'm a little bit of I'm sucked into all of it. I really am. Last of Us.
So have you been into it since the beginning, like since the video game came out, or?
No, actually, I have our community brother Seawater19 to thank. I think it was about 4, maybe 5 years ago now. We were doing a show called Modern Men on the Comic Core, where we were doing modern comic book reads every Monday night and kind of hanging out doing something very similar. And that just kind of hit one of the lists of what the four of us were voting on at the time was, well, do we want to read the Last of Us? Like, I'd never heard about it. And I've always been a George A. Romero zombie kind of fan, post-apocalyptic horror thriller kind of fan of movies and video games ever since Resident Evil. The very first time I walked into Blockbuster as a kid and saw that trial edition PlayStation with the Resident Evil sitting there on the screen, I fell in love with that kind of style and genre. So when they talked about this, I'm like, yeah, we got to read this at some point. And Seawater19 was like, well, have you played the video game? I'm like, oh, sir, there's a video game as well? No, I haven't. And then ever since then, I've just fallen in love with everything Last of Us.
Yeah, see, I'm not a big gamer, so never played the video game. I had a friend that was obsessed with it at one point. But
it for sure, when you get time to experience the book, the show, everything that's out there, if you haven't experienced the video game, it's definitely worth it if it's something that you're a fan of, if you're a fan of the show or even a fan of the book, because it offers more bits and pieces and helps complete or even sometimes add additional things to the story into the Last of Us universe.
Okay. I have never played the video games. I didn't even know it was a video game. I thought it was just a show on HBO. And I started watching it because everybody said it was good. So I am a couple episodes behind, though, so I haven't watched it in like 2 to 3 weeks. So, but I did read the book. I should say 4 books. It was if anybody else read it, this is very, very quick. It was a very quick read. It basically just talks about the beginning of our main character, on how she was in, I don't even want to call it police school. Is that what you want to call it? Or
military school.
Military school. She was in a military school, and it just shows her coming into the military school and what her mindset is. It doesn't say anything about her before the military school, and it doesn't say anything about after the military school. So at that point, I thought it was awesome because it didn't go into the show at all.
I like it. Yeah, it actually is a precursor or prequel. I can never remember. Yeah, it's not a sequel. It's a prequel. It kind of lines up the events of how Ellie and Riley meet.
Yes. And so Riley is pretty much a badass. So and Ellie is she doesn't like taking any crap, but she gets beat up. So because of that fact. She's not the strongest, but she definitely has a strong will. So that's for sure. Mm-hmm. What were your overall thoughts about it, Andy?
It's a very quick read, 15, maybe 20 minutes, 25 if you take your time and go back and double check some stuff. I'm a fan of Faith Erin Hicks's artwork, and she also gets credit as a co-writer along with Neil Druckmann. And the book itself was released, or the first issue out of the 4 was released in 2013, about 2.5, 3 months before the video game came out. And on one of the Last of Us podcasts, Neil Druckmann actually talks about that. I think the podcast from episode 7, he actually talks about how the comic book was kind of like a started out as something before they ever decided to write the game, and then it kind of helped evolve into that, and then it became a part of, hey, we're going to release this 4-issue series. He called, asked for help, and got Faith Aaron Hicks involved, and then they put that and got it published by Dark Horse.
Yep. And I will say that the artwork, my favorite art piece was this right here, the cover to book 3. That is probably my favorite picture. And it explains how Riley's, they get caught by whatever that thing is. And
they just call it the infected in the book.
Infected. It's the infected. They get caught by the infected, and they save each other. So, and that pretty much cements, I believe that was the turning point that cemented their friendship.
Yeah, it's funny, you actually meet Riley on one of the first couple of pages. This 4-issue miniseries is really kind of the story about how the relationship develops outside of the video game and TV show. This is just the book itself, and it's got some really fun hat tips, if you will, towards the Last of Us universe.
Yes, I saw that. And
so Andy, you keep talking about the Last of Us universe. How much content is there if I was to delve into all of it?
Well, let's see. We've got the 4-issue miniseries from Dark Horse. We've got Game 1. Game 1 is already in the top 5 selling PlayStation games of all time. Okay. It's been remade twice. You got the remastered edition for PlayStation 4, PlayStation 4 Pro. Then you have the Part 1, as they're dubbing it, just Part 1. That's released for PS5. So this one that everybody just heard about, this re-release on PS5, that's actually the second remake of the game itself. So there's 3 versions of Game 1, or 3.
So they remade the game? Like, did they change the story around? Or?
No, they didn't. They kept everything the same. And when remake may not have been the correct term, remastered was what they called it for the PS4 and PS4 Pro. So essentially, Part 1 that came out for the PS5 is just another remastered edition, taking advantage of the better graphics of the PS5.
So no plot line changes, just
no.
It looks better.
Yep, exactly. It looks better. The facial characteristics, the mannerisms, the facial expressions are a much higher quality.
So full disclosure, I've been avoiding this because, as I explained to these guys beforehand, I don't want to know anything. I want to know as little as possible about The Last of Us. Now, am I to understand? So yeah, I didn't do my homework this time around, but I did that intentionally because I'm really excited about this show. Like, I keep hearing great things, and as soon as I get back to HBO Max, I'm gonna dive into all of it and probably just binge the whole thing.
My opinion is you might have a richer storytelling experience by binging it, because I do know that some of us have talked and that have played the video game. We kind of feel a little, not disconnected, but it feels a little bit more jumbled. It doesn't feel as quite smooth watching week to week, because when you're playing the video game, the only thing breaking up the video game for you is when you put the controller down.
Right. Yeah.
You know what I mean? And with the new advantage of PlayStation 5, when you hit that PS home button to go back to your home screen, you set your controller down. The next day when you come back and you hit it again, you're instantly right where you're left off. Long gone are the days of save points and everything else, you know?
And the comic book, now I did learn this right before we started. The comic book does nothing to ruin the show.
Correct. There's only one little tidbit, and it doesn't. I wouldn't say it ruins the show. And I'll wait until we get further into the issues to talk about it. But it's, Alan, you'll know as soon as you get that last page of the book, there's an item that's presented, and that won't ruin the story or the TV show or the video game. Essentially,
it actually is a explanation point, or it explains why the character acts the way she does.
Okay.
Towards that item. That's really all that does. It's really nice. It's a nice little drop in. So I'm actually kind of glad that I watched the show first and then read the book.
Okay, maybe that's how I'll do it then.
Because I know who the characters are and I understand what this is talking about. Now you can understand what it's talking about when you go through and she's at the military school because she's tried to get out of one. They're putting her in another one, and she does not like authority at all.
Now, when you say she, you mean the character Ellie?
Ellie, yeah, Ellie does.
I know a little bit. Basically, what I know about this, it's essentially a lone wolf and cub story, right?
Not the book. The overall Last of Us.
Yeah, I just more mean, yeah, the story of The Last of Us kind of follows that template of lone wolf and cub, where you have essentially a killer or a tough character that has to look over a not tough character, but they both learn something from each other.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, Legion, how you doing, man? If you want to jump in, you can. Just let me know. I'll send you the link.
He didn't read it either.
I know he didn't read it, but
we were avoiding it on purpose.
He didn't want spoilers, and there's really no spoilers, and I tried to tell him that, and he didn't. Yeah. So anyway, it opens up with Ellie making it to the military school, and she's greeted by two lovely, lovely young gentlemen that proceed to beat her up and try and steal her stuff. And she, like we said, she's a firecracker, and she wants nothing of it. But again, these are boys, and they're kicking the crap out of her. And along comes Riley, and Riley says, "We'll have none of that," and basically steps up for her.
And right, you can imagine in a scenario like that in a post-apocalyptic world, going to a military school behind a barrier or a wall where it's fight or flight. It's you gotta what's the phrase I'm looking for?
Survival
survival of the fittest. The toughest are you're just gonna take control.
Yeah, and well, Riley comes to her aid and gets her one of her prized possessions back, which is her Walkman, and ends up taking it. She meets the headmaster, I guess you want to call him, and they put her on washing car duty because she's in trouble. And so she's just there. She finds out that Riley stole the Walkman. She goes and she hunts Riley down at the cafeteria and says, "I want it back." She ends up giving it back without any fight or any adversary or that's not a word. Any confrontation at all. And then it moves to, well, she caught Riley sneaking out. And she's like, and as we said, Ellie tried to escape from the other military school, so she's all about it. So she goes and joins her on this adventure to, getting out. And they go to a mall. And it got a little flashback scene of an arcade. And Ellie seems to envision, like, kids playing at the arcade, even though the arcade's completely vacant. And she says, "Hey, look out." Oh, wait, too late. You're dead. So, and that is the actual abandoned arcade right there. And do you want to take it from there, Andy?
Well, it's really kind of cool how Neil Druckmann really kind of drums up this idea of teenage angst and teens kind of splitting up. Where did a lot of kids go when they booked it out from school, or they were skipping class, or they were running away from home for a day or a night? Kids back then, we ran to the mall, the bowling alley. So that was really cool to see. It's a shame that everything's in shambles and it's just a memory of its former self. But you really start to see Riley and Ellie kind of develop their friendship at this point in time.
Yes. And they're at the mall meeting his name's Winston.
Yep.
And Riley brings him a present of Glenfiddich Solera Reserve 15-year single malt.
How that survived is beyond me.
I don't know, but I want it. Because if you've ever had it, it's really good. So Um, and basically, Riley uses Ellie to get Winston to show her how to ride a horse, so that Riley can steal some smoke bombs and a walkie-talkie from Winston, because Winston is a part of the Fireflies, and that's who Riley wants to join. She doesn't want to, you know, do what people tell her to do, go to the bathroom where people tell her to do. She says shit, where to shit and what to do, all that. I think that's what the exact words she used. But yeah, she wants to be free. She doesn't want authority figures. Isn't that what you?
I really enjoy the character of Winston. The idea of the Fireflies kind of like meandering, being out on their own, where they are a group, they are a core group, but then to think about them just setting up camp in random cleaned out areas like a mall, and him having a horse and like a stable and in a tent, and he's just living his best life inside of a mall, post-apocalyptic. It's a nice hat tip to George A. Romero's Day of the Dead. If I remember correctly, I can't remember if it's Dawn of the Dead or Day of the Dead. The one that they fly out in a helicopter and then land on top of a mall, and then
the one where they live in a mall,
yeah, where they live in a mall. Nice little hat tip to George A. Romero there, I think.
So, and then once they get back from the horse ride, the mall blows up, or the roof does. There's an explosion outside the mall, and this is where she found out that she stole the walkie-talkie, and she was like, "I didn't know it was happening tonight, but it is. So let's go." And Ellie is, as you can see, she's in shock. She's like, "What's going on?" And so she's like, "What do I do?" And she just falls. I think she just followed her basic instinct, and that was follow Riley. Well, she wanted to go forward. She didn't want to go backward.
Yeah. And she's seen what Riley's kind of done to her, the trialing. Riley's really testing Ellie, right? Like she steals the Walkman to see how she's going to react and see how she wants to get it back. Then she trades off the scotch to Winston to give Ellie a horse ride. It's kind of like Riley's really gauging Ellie throughout this. And now she's going to test her to see if she's willing to go the extra mile.
Yeah. And there's a fight between the Fireflies and the police. I guess you can just call them the police.
Fedra.
Fedra. That's it. And there's a fight, and well, Riley, like we said, Riley took 2 smoke bombs, and she ended up using them to give the Fireflies cover because they got overrun, and to help them get out. And then, well, they're all happy and stuff on top of the rooftop until they start getting shot at. And they're like, "Oh, crap." So they're running, and this is where they meet. This is your first vision inside the book of the infected. Right here is one charges at them. As you can see, it tackles Riley first, and I forgot what. Oh, there you go. Yeah, Ellie crawls out and everything, and Riley ends up hitting it with a rock, gets it off of it, but then it recoups, and it finds Ellie, and it because Ellie hit it with a stick, right where my big ass hand is. There you go. And so it charges after that, but then Riley sticks it in the throat stabs it in the throat with a stick, and saves Ellie's life. Like I said, they saved each other there by Ellie didn't do a whole lot with just hitting it on the back, and so there's an embraceful moment to where they're you can see that they're just kids again because they just survived this attack.
I really like how Faith Aaron Hicks displays action and motion on the pages. It kind of feels more traditional comic like. It's really cool.
I really, really enjoyed the art inside the book. It was really, really good. And all the scenes were done very, very well. And so now more infected come, and they just run away. and they are then saved by the Fireflies, and they're greeted by getting tased.
Half saved, half abducted.
Yes. And they know who Ellie is right away, which is kind of weird because they don't explain anything in this, but they just know that that who Ellie is. The leader does. And they're talking, and then Ellie wakes up inside, and she's grabbing for some glass, and she's like, "Yeah, that's not going to be needed." And this is where the leader. Oh, I forgot her name. Damn it. I'm sorry.
Marlene.
Marlene. That's it. Marlene's like, "Yeah, you're not going to need that," and she continues to tell Ellie about her and what she's doing, and they let Riley up, and Riley's not also happy because they had her hooded. As you can see, she's getting the hood taken off. She's not the happiest camper in the world right now, especially because she feels that she just helped you guys out, and now you're just, you beat her, and she's helped you out, and you're beating me. So, and she knows who Marlene is, and that she expresses how she wants to join the Fireflies. And this is because in the book she said earlier that once you're 16, you are Fedras. They give you a gun, and basically you proceed in your training to be policemen and enforce the laws. And she's a couple weeks away from 16, and she does not want to do that. She straight up wants to join the Fireflies. And Marlene's like, "Nope, you're both going back. You're not being the Fireflies." And in the middle of that, we get interrupted by some sewer trolls, I guess you would call them.
Smugglers, yep.
Smugglers. And so they're saying, "No, we're going to take your stuff," yada, yada, yada. He kills one of the Fireflies, and they proceed to kill the smugglers. So, but it goes into a fight at that point, and that's when they take control, and basically Marlene tells them, "You are going back," and because she tried to tell Riley that this is where you learn more about Riley, that you don't know what it takes. Are you willing to sacrifice this? And she's like, "I watched my dad eat my mom. I had to kill my own father." So it's yeah. So that's why she's ready. She feels that she's ready. And they say that she's not. And that's when Marlene tells Ellie about her mom, Anna, and what she did for her, which is basically all she does is she says that she sacrificed everything for her. And then at the end, she hands her a knife. And once you watch the show, you will see the significance of the knife at that point. It's basically just an item that Ellie has. And then they go back to the school. And that's where it ends, which is really weird. I did not expect it to end like that. I expected a little bit more. I don't know why.
I have a theory.
Okay.
I have a theory if you guys want to nitpick at this a little bit. I don't think Neil Druckmann ever spent the time to flesh this all the way out. I feel like Neil Druckmann was onto something. I don't know where he was at in his life when he came up with this idea and concept, or where this sprout of an idea came up. I don't know where he was at in life, but I feel like this comic book exists outside of the Last of Us content that we know, because I think this was Neil Gaiman trying to storyboard on paper the story of The Last of Us, what he was going to put together further on down. When he started doing this, he realized, potentially putting this into a epic video game. But then same with movies and shows and video games, you have to storyboard things at a lot of times. When there's a lot of storyboarding that happens in the production of a TV show or a movie, and when you get into a video game of this caliber, they're using the same production methods as they do a TV show and a movie. I think this comic book exists because he started storyboarding the idea of The Last of Us and realized that this could be a comic book that could add value to the Last of Us universe as additional content, and releasing a 4-issue miniseries was a fun way to bring attention to the Last of Us in the comic book readers when the video game was going to be released. So it became a promotional aspect for them as well.
Yeah,
I would really love to hear Neil. Did I say Neil Gaiman? I meant to say Neil Druckmann if I said Gaiman. But Neil Druckmann, I would love to hear his full unadulterated story of how this really came to life from his perspective.
Yeah, it would be definitely. Yeah, but that makes a lot of sense to where it was just, but could you see them continuing with another volume of this?
I don't think so. I think The Last of Us in itself, it was best delivered in the way it was delivered, and that's how people know it. And the rest of the fandom that is discovering The Last of Us, that will know The Last of Us for the next 2 to 3 to 5 years, will know it in either video game form or TV show form. Those of us that have read the comic book, that are comic book collectors, are going to become a much, much smaller piece of the pie that is The Last of Us fandom. And I don't think that it's ever really going to be kind of worth their time and investment. He might do something fun and might do they've already changed the covers and re-released these 4 issues in the Firefly edition of the PS5 Part 1 remake. And I don't think that they have any intention of adding to the comic book series or bringing back a comic book series to explain more of it.
Yeah. I mean, and that just means that all of you out there that have #1 first print, don't get rid of it. Just hold on to it. I don't see it going down. I really just don't. I think that's just gonna stay right where it's at.
At the end of the day, when it comes to comic book speculating and discussing about speculating on comic books, I tend to reserve a lot of my thoughts. Just because at the end of the day, I'm going to be wrong more than I'll ever be right. And if I'm going to be wrong more than I'm going to be right, and I've publicly or vocalized that, then I'm going to have to hang that out to dry and be like, hey, yeah, this didn't work out, that didn't work out. And then 2019, when Something is Killing the Children came out, a lot of us in the comic community felt like we were watching the next Walking Dead unfold. I really think that The Last of Us issue 1, 2013 from Dark Horse really fits into that niche more than I think Something is Killing the Children does. I think when you want to talk about scarcity, condition issues, lack of reprints and covers, I think The Last of Us really sticks out more so.
And see, that's funny because I'm somebody who was I solicited Walking Dead from the beginning.
Nice. We missed the first chunk of that, but
what the hell was DCBS before? Because I got sold. I was ordering mailordercomics.com for those of you that remember that. God, that was a long time ago. And then they got bought. Like literally, I was sold. My subscription was sold to DCBS.
Oh wow. That's a while ago. I missed out on The Walking Dead at the very beginning. Then when we heard it was coming out as a show, I had already been getting the issue by issue for my LCS, but then the wife and I went out and got a graded 9.8 before it became a show.
Both of mine are raw.
We ended up selling ours to pay for a chunk of our wedding, and I'm still fighting tooth and nail to save up to get a copy of that back. But I mean, at the end of the day, The Walking Dead is The Walking Dead. When you use the term blue chip moderns, or when you refer to modern comic books as being blue chip, really the Invincible #1, Walking Dead #1 come to mind. They're still not full on blue chip investable books. A lot of people feel like, and I don't mean to make this a whole discussion about other moderns, but when it comes to what is the next Walking Dead, I really feel like The Last of Us 1 fits into this topic and discussion more so than Something's Killing the Children, just based on what's been happening lately.
Yeah. But overall, I enjoyed it. I'm guessing you did as well.
I did. For what it is, you can't walk into this book with really high expectations. It's a 4-issue miniseries from Dark Horse in 2013 that not a lot of people were collecting and reading. It's not something they invested super heavy in. Aaron Faith Hicks' artwork is fantastic. I see a ton of artwork every week on your wall, Becker, and it's like Faith Aaron Hicks. They released some of her pages from issue 1 and issue 2. They're trickling her pages out. If you hadn't heard about that,
Probably.
because you got a lot of original art back there. If this is something
It's all very specific, though.
is it? If The Last of Us is something that you
so
ever become
this wall is
in.
only New Warriors.
Oh, throw little pinkies up right there.
Yeah, so right behind me, this is a Scotty Young page from volume 3. And then I have a page from Night Thrasher #1. I have a page from Night Thrasher 4 Control. I have a page from Mighty Thor 412, first appearance of the New Warriors. Volume 1, issue 19. Avengers Academy, a George Perez speedball sketch.
Ooh.
Yeah, just it's all related to New Warriors.
Very nice. To answer your question, man, Alan, I would love for them to come back as a comic fan and do more comic books. I just don't think it'll ever be worth their time and money. You look at Druckmann's role right now, he would never be able to fit in the time to create another comic book because of how busy his schedule is going to be with everything going on going forward.
Yeah. And have they didn't I hear that they signed on for season 2 of The Last of Us?
They surprisingly did it right away. I think it was after the second or the third episode on HBO Max landed. They announced on all the social media platforms that they're greenlit for a season 2.
That's pretty awesome.
It is. It really is.
I'm excited because I love the show. So
I'm excited for more people to. A lot of people know about it. A lot of people have discovered it. Not a lot of people have yet really experienced the full story, either start to finish or have dived in yet. And I'm excited for more people to do that and to find out how many more people are really going to enjoy it.
Yeah, I mean, I'll probably never play the video game. I don't know. I might, but I highly doubt it. I mean, I'm an old school gamer. I like Super Nintendo, Nintendo N64. N64 is pretty much the pinnacle of. I mean, I got God of War, and I have a PS4 with God of War edition and all that stuff. But I didn't like that game as much as I liked God of War in the past. That's just my type of game. I don't like. So I don't see me playing the game, but I'm not going to count it out.
It's really kind of taking a turn. You got to sit down with that gaming console now, and when you load up The Last of Us, when you go into it, your mindset, you're going to be thinking about playing a game and mashing some buttons. The Last of Us is not about mashing buttons and really playing a game. It's a cinematic experience. It's more like sitting and watching a movie from time to time and then having some gameplay in the middle of it. It's really, really kind of a cinematic experience.
Okay. Now I might have to actually play it.
There are a lot of YouTube channels out there that take all of the video game content from start to finish, record it, upload it, minus. You get channels that will take all the gameplay out and just deliver you the movie experience. And it's like 8.5, 9 hours of cutscenes from start to finish for just the first one. I think the second game is closer to 12 hours. And then there are channels out there that are devoted to just showing the gameplay, which if you ever stumble on any of those clips, gameplay from game 2 or part 2 is extremely graphic. Extremely graphic.
Okay. All right. I mean, I don't have anything else to add. Thank you, Andy, for coming on and talking in depth about this and everything. I'm glad you came on, man.
Yeah, when you guys decide to watch the show or get caught up on the show or anything like that, let me know if you want to hang out for a full season recap or something like that. I'm really interested to hear what more people have to say as they continue to discover it, because I'll be honest, a lot of people had reservations about going back to the viewership, the comic community. A lot of people out there are very divided, where a lot of people want an entire season to drop on a week and they want to binge the whole thing. Some other people are liking the week-to-week content like I kind of am. So there's a lot of people out there that have abstained from watching even the start of The Last of Us. But we'll just say that yesterday's episode, last night, episode 8, opened up to 8.1 million viewers. It's a 75 to
That's
76%
insane.
increase since the first season or the first episode.
Wow.
How many episodes do you know how many episodes are in for season 1?
Just
How
9.
many? There's going to be so one more.
One more. The season finale is next Sunday, and then I would imagine that more and more people will start to filter in so that they can kind of sit down and if some people like to watch it in 2 or 3 episode chunks or watch the whole season, they'll be able to do that at that point. I mean, we were talking only 9. It kind of matches up when you think about it. When you take the gameplay or let me rephrase that. When you take the cinematics of game 1 and remove all the gameplay, chops it down to between 8.5, 9.5 hours of cinematic event for the whole story.
Wow.
And you think 9 episodes for season 1, give or take a couple of minutes, a little bit more than an hour, a little bit under an hour, you're looking at about 9 to 9.5 hours of screen time for the first season.
But yeah, that was. I don't have anything else.
Dude, thanks so much. Now you're going to your channel right away, right? And Transformers.
Every week on Monday night, we do a Last of Us recap of the show. We go live with myself. Double O. We'll do some Transformers stuff at some point in the future, but Double O, a good buddy of mine, Jackson from Bordernoid Podcast, we sit down and we do a spoiler-loaded rehashing recap for all of the people that have watched the episode and are tuned up. So anybody that wants to go over that has not watched the show, go over, just hit the thumbs up, hit notify. Don't watch the episode. Wait until you've caught up on everything. And then the idea of why we've done this week to week and we've got it set up on my YouTube channel is when people are done watching the show, but that's not enough content for them for The Last of Us, they can go back to my channel, hit play from the start, and they can watch every recap that we've done for every week thereafter. And it's I'm not going to lie, it's spoiler loaded. I've gotten some message from friends about, hey, why would you do this? You're spoiling the show. And I'm like, we throw a big spoiler banner up. We let people know that. I mean, we drop spoilers from the first game, the second game, the comic book, the everything. It's really a show meant for Last of Us fans that are fully kind of engrossed into the Last of Us universe. I don't want that to necessarily exclude anybody, though. When they get caught up on the show, they can pop over and watch our show too.
And just so everybody knows, in the description, there's a link to Andy's live stream tonight. If you are caught up with the show and want to check it out, go check him out. Give him a thumbs up. And if you're not subscribed to Comic Man Andy, well, you should be. So, but yeah. So as I have said, we are going to do a giveaway right now. We're going to give away this trade paperback, The Last of Us American Dreams. The last one we did, Kingdom Come.
Ooh.
The Alex Ross, Mark Wade one. Cool. And our very first one, Hellblazer.
Nice.
I'm going to give that all. That's one giveaway right now. And I want everybody to go and enter hashtag Last of Us.
Ooh, in the StreamYard chat or in the YouTube chat?
In the YouTube chat.
Nice. That's really cool. I love the StreamYard feature that allows you to do that hashtag kind of giveaway thing. I do that on my Friday night CGC unboxings. Like, I'm so glad you mentioned something about doing this book review at 8 p.m. on Monday, because I'm like, this is going to be a busy week, but I can fit this in because we're going live at 9 here in a little bit. Then Renovision has his Hidden Gems episode that he dropped today that we're going to go check out after that. Tuesday night his Comic News Weekly. There's so much going on every week. It's so epic. Wednesday, new comic book day. I'm really feeling it. I'm really feeling the love hanging out with everybody.
Does everybody see that?
Yep.
All right. Everybody can enter. Andy, you can enter as well.
I'm entering as a wild card. If I win, we get to spin again.
Oh, wow. Okay.
If I win,
I actually have those novels at the moment. That'd be really cool. I'd like a little wild card there.
If I win, I will prize tag.
You will prize tag. I like the prize tag.
I know you do.
How many people we got watching, Beckerman? Because I'm on this screen.
We've got 9.
9. Come on, people. Everybody enter. I'm not watching it, so and I'm not entering because, well, they're mine. So I'm giving them away for free.
7. You got 7.
Okay. Well, I am gonna draw in about 5 seconds. And here we go.
Come on, Beckerman.
Eli
Oh,
Gunther.
Eli.
All
Nice.
right, man. Eli, congratulations, dudes. So, Eli, if you could please just hit me up on Instagram with your address, and I will get that sent out to you as soon as you give me your address. So, as soon as you give it to me, it could possibly be early as tomorrow, too, because I got some stuff to run to the post office. Please likes and check out all of our other content. If this is your first time here, and go check out Andy's channel. Please give him the thumbs up on his video. And if you're not caught up, just save it for later and go back and rewatch all of them. So, but until next time, next month's book, Beckerman. Next month's book.
We'll release it.
We'll
'Cause
release
I
it.
need to talk to you about it.
Okay.
We'll release it tomorrow
We'll release it tomorrow
on Instagram.
On
Ooh.
Instagram. All right. Okay. Well, the next book will be released tomorrow via
And then we'll make a
Instagram.
video too, I'm sure.
Yeah, we'll probably do a video as well. But we will release that information tomorrow, latest Wednesday. So stay tuned, and thanks for coming by, everyone.